Good afternoon. Do we have to stand up and do some calisthenics to get you guys going? All right, so I am going to be talking a lot about community engagement in my particular talk. But before I talk, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge two of the people who have been instrumental in my career, Mickey Kachmar and Joe LaBianca. For those of you who don't know, Mickey was the co-chair of my dissertation and actually got me through my doctoral program, which was awesome, and Joe was my outside member on my committee. And so I'm thankful that I got an opportunity to co-author with them, and they have been very instrumental in helping me with my career progression since I've been in this field. So I finished my doctoral program in 2011, got promotion and tenure last year, and just recently took on a new role in the president's office at University of Alabama, Birmingham. So I'm now the Director of Civic Innovation in the president's office. So what that role entails is really a focus on how do we take the innovation and entrepreneurship that is happening on our campus and using it to really impact the city of Birmingham. The mission statement that I'm rolling out for this initiative that I have is, how do we make Birmingham the premier city in the nation for UAB's faculty, staff, and students to live, work, learn, play, and serve? What we recognize is that what's good for Birmingham is good for UAB. And so we never want to be in a position where people say, you know what, I love UAB, I would want to work there. That city, I don't know about that city though. And so what we realize is that we really have to make sure that this city is thriving and it's a welcoming environment if we want to make sure that we're recruiting and retaining top-notch faculty from all around the world. And so that's what I get an opportunity to do every day. I'm going to tell you, sometimes I do feel guilty that they pay me a lot of money to do this, but I think it's worth it. So I am born and raised in Birmingham, and so what I get an opportunity to do is every day think about how do we make Birmingham better. And so I want you guys to think about the roles that you're in right now at your respective universities. Who's playing that role? You know, does that usually fall within external affairs? Is there a VP for community engagement? What does that look like? At UAB, what that looks like is we went through a new strategic planning process where, in addition to our normal mission pillars of just research, teaching, and service, we've also added community engagement and economic development to be explicit mission pillars of what we do as a university, which is fortuitous for me because that's my research area. My research area is teamwork, collaboration, and innovation, and then I have this passion for the community. So if you kind of look at it, what I do is you have these three concentric circles of research, teaching, and service, and right there in the middle is community engagement. Now, when it was first announced that I had this role, I got one of two reactions. One was, how the hell do you get a role like that? It's a very high-profile role. I'm in the president's office. I meet with him regularly. I serve as like his chief strategist and senior advisor on things related to community engagement in Birmingham. So I'm driving results for the university. So people are like, number one, how did he get that role? Or other people say, that's a perfect role. Why did it take him so long to give him that role? And so what I've found is that the difference between the people that have those reactions are the people that follow me on social media. The people that follow me on social media have been seeing for years that essentially I've been doing this role for a long time. It's just only now in the past couple months that I've actually got an opportunity to do it in an official capacity. So what I'm going to talk a lot about in the few minutes I have with you is, how do you start really documenting the things that you do so that if an opportunity comes up, people have in mind that, oh yeah, that is the perfect role for that person. You know, right now in academia, you know, our promotion and tenure is really based on us developing this national and international reputation. And oftentimes we look at that as, you know, citations, impact factors, where did you publish your research, are you on editorial boards? And I think that's all well and good. But what about the other aspects that really boost the reputation of your university as well as your school? And so what I found is that I don't know that we as a body of academics are using social media to its best potential. And so that's something that I've really spent a lot of time on the last several years. I get made fun at sometimes because it's like, oh, Anthony's the social media person. I always have my phone. I'm always taking pictures. I'm always posting videos. But I think that's really paid off for me in my career. How many of you guys use LinkedIn? All right. This is something that we typically don't tell our students to do. I want to encourage each one of you to pull out your smartphone. I'm assuming that most of you have a smartphone. I'm hoping that you guys have the LinkedIn app on your front page of your smartphone. If not, shame on you. How many of you have updated your LinkedIn profile in the last couple weeks or this semester? last semester? These are rhetorical questions that you don't have to tell on yourself. I probably update my LinkedIn profile at least once a week, probably several times a week. Because I feel like I'm doing a lot of really cool stuff. And I think all of us are doing really cool stuff. But I think oftentimes we don't see it as being cool. So right now I have my iPhone 10 on a tripod right here. Everything that I do, I document. I document everything. I take videos and pictures of everything because my opinion is if there are no pictures, it didn't happen. I'll say that again. If there are no pictures, it didn't happen. Now, those of you who have been to Vegas lately, you don't want pictures there, right? But things outside of that environment, I think we need to be documenting and capturing that. So if you see right here on my LinkedIn profile, my cover page is a fireside chat that I did with Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, a couple months ago. He was in Birmingham. He was being honored with a humanitarian award. He was supposed to do a keynote talk at one of the historic churches in Birmingham. But then at the last minute, he was like, you know what? I don't want to do a talk. I want to do something that's more interactive and engaging with somebody from the local community. And so his people reached out to people in Birmingham. They say, who would be a good person to do something interactive with Tim Cook? And my name was the name that consistently came up with everybody they talked to. So guess what was the next thing they did? They Googled me, of course. So when they Googled me, they found a lot of the different things that I had been doing in the community, and they was like, wow, this guy is really interesting. They called me. I was actually at Disney World with my family, and I got a call. They was like, hey, we're calling from Apple. Do you have a few minutes? And I'm about to get on the route. Like, as a matter of fact, I do. And so essentially they did a FaceTime with me, and they asked me a bunch of questions, and they was like, hey, we've really been looking at what you've been doing online. We looked at your personal website and your LinkedIn page. Like, you've been doing some impressive work. We'd like to know if you'd be interested in doing an hour-long fireside chat with Tim Cook. And I'm like, is this a trick question? I'm like, no, not a trick question. And so that was one of the reasons why I got that opportunity. Now, just imagine if I had not been capturing a lot of things that I had been doing in the community. Now, let me back up. What are some of the things that I've been doing in the community? Well, one, engaging with entrepreneurs. Engaging with entrepreneurs, sitting on boards, doing strategic planning retreats. We have a business incubator in Birmingham that has 105 startup companies. So I've been really working to kind of shape the entrepreneurial ecosystem in our local community. And whenever I do those things, I make sure that if there's not somebody that's already recording it, I record it myself, or sometimes I record it anyway so that I can have my own documentation. Where I come from, we call that having receipts. Say that, receipts. You need to have receipts of the things that you're doing. And so to me, receipts are proof that you actually did it, and it's a documentation of what you can do. What I do with my students, I teach our strategic management capstone, so I have all these graduating seniors. And a lot of my graduating seniors, they have a resume with a bunch of words on it, but they can't demonstrate what they know how to do. They're an accounting student, but they don't have any documentation of how to do books. They're an IS student, but they have no way to show, no videos, no pictures, anything to show that they know how to build a website or they know how to build a database or what have you. So what I've been encouraging my students to do is, as you've been going through your programs, start capturing and documenting those things. Back before we had computers, those of us who just came up in these paper environments, we had scrapbooks, we had portfolios where we took and documented the things that we're doing. Now with tools like LinkedIn, this allows us to have an online portfolio that we can capture some of those things. So, what are the things that we're talking about? All right, so if you looked at your LinkedIn profile, number one, it gives you an opportunity to put a bio here. So hopefully all of you have actually put a nice bio on your LinkedIn page. If not, you should do that in the next week or so. Also under here, LinkedIn has this cool feature where it allows you to actually put PDFs, pictures, photos, videos, any kind of what I call receipts. You can put that right here. Who is this guy? So I got an opportunity to engage with Warren Buffett last year at a conference. He was sitting at a table like Mickey. Nobody was at the table. He was supposed to be a keynote speaker at lunch. And I was sitting like where you were, and I was like, so Warren Buffett's just sitting there, nobody's going to talk to him? I'm going to go and talk to him. So I went. Had I not been engaged in the community, I wouldn't have this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to take a selfie with Warren Buffett. This was something in Atlanta a couple of weeks ago. I got an opportunity to talk to 100 entrepreneurs in Atlanta around economic development. And so this is just examples of things that you could put on your LinkedIn profile. This was a video of a panel that I moderated a couple months ago in Birmingham. Now, in addition to the top line area, you can also come down and put other receipts, as I call it, next to the different things that you're doing for your jobs. So whether it's your current position or previous roles, you can put things in here that show what you've been doing. A couple of weeks ago, I was up in D.C. and I sat on a panel with the Secretary of Labor in the state of Maryland on workforce issues. And I got an opportunity to talk about the workforce issues that UAB is engaged in the local community. I gave a commencement speech earlier this year at UAB. These are the types of things that I'm sure that a lot of you will get an opportunity to do, but here's the thing. Are you capturing, documenting those things, and putting them in a place where other people can see them? Because you never know where your next opportunity might come from. I've had people reach out to me with job opportunities to go to other universities, primarily based on what they saw on my LinkedIn page. How many of you have a personal website? 2 people? Are y'all kidding me? 3? All right, homework. Here's your homework. Because again, I think as people who are creating content, creating information, we are trying to be role models for our students. I think one of the things that we should all do is have a personal website. It's an online portfolio of where you should be keeping, documenting all of your articles that now they're all behind this firewall, but if you post it on your own website, you can make those freely available to people. You need to have a repository where you can actually keep that information. I reserved my name several years ago. So, homework. Everybody should own their own name. So I reserved anthonychood.com probably 5, 6, 7 years ago. And I just sat on it for like a year or two until one day I just decided, you know what? I'm going to build a website today. So you know what I did? Because I didn't know how to build a website, but you know what I did? I do just like your students do. I went to YouTube. I found a YouTube video on how to build a website. And I sat there one afternoon. I started about 11:30, and about 4:30 that afternoon, I had built a website using WordPress. And so now my website is where I keep all the information related to my research, my teaching, and my service. And here are the tabs for research, teaching, and service. So if you click on View Research, it really has a summary of my research. This is essentially what I put in my promotion and tenure document that I submitted last year. Just kind of like that summary of your research. This is essentially the same thing, but I've just kind of illustrated it. I also had an infographic done of the work that I do. So I do work on multiplex conflict. So I actually had a infographic done of a recent paper that me and my co-authors got done. So this is something that's really translating the things that I do into something that people outside of this room can actually understand. You know, we write in a way that typically non-academics can't understand it. How do you translate that? So the last thing I'll leave you with when I talk about translation, one of the things that I've started doing is I realized I need to be my own press manager. So I've gotten to a place now, before I start working on a research project, I write the press release first. I'm assuming that it's going to get published in a really good place. And I'm assuming that people out in the real world is going to find value in the research that I'm doing. So I start writing the layman's article that might go into the Birmingham Business Journal or some other popular press article, and I write that first. If I can't write that, I'm not actually ready to write the academic article. And so when I write the press release, that makes the rest of the writing easier. And then when that article actually gets published, now I actually pitch that to my university's communications department and say, hey, my co-authors and I just got this article published. I thought you might find this interesting. And I make their job easy. Sometimes I give them pictures to go along with it, and then they post it on the university's website, and hopefully it gets picked up in other places. By just doing that, what's happened is that I have like a local NPR that want to do interviews with what I do, or the local bloggers that want to do podcast episodes based on the research that I've translated into something that people can actually understand. And guess what I do with all those pieces of information? I put them on my website. I put them on my LinkedIn page. And so now it becomes a virtuous cycle where I'm taking this stuff, putting it on my web page. It creates new opportunities that create new opportunities to create new content. Last thing, I just got a paper published a couple months ago from a researcher in Japan that I've never met before, but he saw some stuff I put on LinkedIn. He's like, hey, I'm working on this paper. Want to know if you can work on it with me. And we worked on it and got that published. Had it not been for my LinkedIn page, that publication opportunity would not have come about. Thank you. Appreciate it.